Things keep getting crazier surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., as there's been a ton of buzz circulating about whether the Toronto Blue Jays will trade, but most likely extend the star. And a recent report has come out revealing what the Jays' plan is for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. heading into the offseason. So I'm going to break down that new report and discuss what it can mean going forward for the Blue Jays as they are approaching one of the most important offseasons they've had in years. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before I do, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it would mean the world to Peter and myself as we're on the road to 14,000 subscribers. Now, let's dive right into it. So we obviously know the Jays' season at this point is lost when it comes to making the playoffs and actually competing. But what isn't lost is seeing the young guys play and seeing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. return to his MVP caliber self, which is exactly what he has done. And he's put up the best season of his career alongside 2021. But what a year he's having. But what comes with these conversations about him playing very well and becoming an MVP again, or MVP candidate, that is his contract extension, because he is a free agent after the following season. And we know that Bichette's in the similar boat. And the problem now is, if the Jays are looking to compete in 2025, or whether they're even looking to compete in 2025 or not, they need to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And Jon Heyman came out and revealed some very interesting details. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Blue Jays contract talks to renew after the initial trade buzz that they've had over the past few months. After trade buzz around the deadline surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Toronto Blue Jays will renew contract talks with the star this winter. Heyman noted that Toronto is more likely to secure Guerrero to a long-term deal than his teammate Bichette. And Jon Heyman said, quote, "The Blue Jays are again expected to try to lock up superstar first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this winter, slash third baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this winter. And though they have a better shot with Guerrero than co-star Bichette, they will need to step up efforts to keep Guerrero, who's in great shape, and back to near MVP levels." So some interesting stuff to go over here. Obviously, we know that some trade talks and buzz circulated surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at the deadline. I don't think anything was ever close, and I'm not sure the Jays were ever actually going to trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But that being said, heading into the offseason now, it seems like their top priority is re-signing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It doesn't seem like they're going to trade him. It doesn't seem like they're going to do anything to get rid of him. Anything they're going to do now, whether that is in the form of a long-term contract, whether that's in the form of whoever else they sign to maybe lure Vladimir Guerrero Jr. back, we know that Vladdy wants to be a Toronto Blue Jay. Him wanting to be a Blue Jay has not been a secret. He's came out and said he wants to be in Toronto. He reposted on an Instagram story of someone basically posting on their story saying, "Lock up Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for life." He reposted that. Every single sign here indicates that, hey, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. wants to be a Blue Jay. He wants to be a Blue Jay for life. And why wouldn't he want to be a Blue Jay for life? He's obviously played here his whole career. Obviously, they haven't won the same way that they want to. But he wants to be a Jay, and it makes total sense to just lock him up this offseason. And that's exactly what the Jays are focused on doing. So it's very encouraging to know that. Now, again, this is another report from a different reporter saying that not only are the Jays trying to lock up Vladdy, but that they're more likely to lock up Vladdy than co-star Bichette. And Bichette, again, at this point, I almost have a prediction that he's going to probably get moved at the in the offseason, and they're going to retool and build around Vladimir Guerrero Jr. rather than Bichette, simply because they're at the point now where they almost need to lock up one of these guys, and it seems like Vladdy is a lot more likely to be locked up than Bichette. We know a report came out about a week ago from multiple MLB executives, and they basically said at this point they are somewhat committed to seeing what the group can do before they blow it up. If they were willing to move the biggest pieces, they could certainly add some to the system. I feel like they should give it another go, given that they chose not to move the bigger pieces at the deadline. But if that's the case, they likely need to be ready to pull the plug if things don't go well mid-season, and this mainly surrounds Bichette. So obviously, you look at executives are saying, hey, they're probably going to try to run it back. They're going to try to win. But then you have other people saying that maybe they should blow it up. I think at this point, they're going to do something in the middle. If they don't think they can win with Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as your core pieces, then they'll probably move on from Bo. That being said, the ideal situation, if they are strictly trying to win in 2025, is to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr., really probably extend Bichette, but if he doesn't want to extend, just let him go into this season and sign some big bats. I've been discussing on this channel a lot, whether that's Teoscar Hernandez, whether that's Pete Alonso, whether that's making a trade, whether that's letting Bichette walk or trading Bichette and looking into a guy like Willy Adames, who we're going to be discussing, a lot throughout these next coming months here, heading into the offseason. But a guy like Willy Adames would be great. A guy like Pete Alonso, Teoscar Hernandez. Obviously, Juan Soto is the big fish, and if they strike out on Juan Soto, you have to be ready to pivot to build around your other players. And as you can see here from Bob Nightingale, the Toronto Blue Jays are expected to entertain trade offers this winter for Bichette, who has no plans to stay in Toronto once he's a free agent. He wrote that a couple weeks ago. Obviously, we know about that. It seems like they're going to entertain offers for Bo. If they get something that can give them MLB-ready talent now to compete in 2025 and make their team better, they're going to take it. They will then hopefully extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr., build around Vladdy, and then whatever pieces they get back for Bo, obviously use those to either make another trade or maybe sign a guy like Willy Adames or get a trade for a guy who's available in the market and just go for it that way. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this now. I think signing Willy Adames would be one of the better options they possibly have, mainly because he's going to cost a lot of money, but signing a guy like that would be very interesting. We know the Jays were intrigued with him at multiple points surrounding a trade. So I think I would go for a guy like that and then build around Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because he is the best player on the Blue Jays. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. So at this point, just extend him and build around him. You have a lot of young pieces. You have Spencer Horwitz. You have tons of guys that can fill in and be very productive players, but not when they're hitting 2 and 3 in the lineup because of the lack of hitting depth that they have and power for that matter. And an interesting article posted here, and this was highlighting Steve Phillips talk, a former executive himself. And it basically just said the sooner the Jays get Guerrero signed, the better. And that's kind of what it comes down to now. If they don't sign him soon and they let him go into next season, in next March in 2025 without a contract, you're looking at a very interesting spot now because then you have Bo and Vladdy heading into their contract years. You have a Blue Jays team who has yet to prove they can win a single playoff game with this core. And obviously they're going to try to make some big additions and big signings to help propel them into playoff contention, but let alone playoff contention, a playoff push. And it's just going to be very, very interesting to see what they ultimately decide to do because you look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Stats here, 2022, obviously, 819 OPS. 2023, which was last season, he had the down year, and that's why a lot of players, or a lot of fans, and a lot of, I guess the front office as well, was thinking, hey, do we want to put all of our eggs in the Vladdy basket when he only had one really elite year in 2021? He put all those questions to rest this year by bouncing back, putting up a 960 OPS. He has the best, some of the best peripherals in baseball hitting wise. Obviously, he is a first baseman. He's going to get between $300 and $350 million simply because of how good of a hitter he is. Do you want to pay a first baseman that amount of money? I think at this point you have to. He can also play some third in there. We saw him play some third this season. He's only 25 years old. There's no convincing that needs to be done surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And when it comes to Bo Bichette, there's a lot of different ways they can go about it. It seems like they want to move Bo Bichette, whether that's from the John Heyman tweet, or the John Heyman report, or whether it's from many AL and MLB executives saying that they want to potentially trade Bo Bichette. The problem is you're probably trading at his lowest value, even though I don't think his value was hindered too much by his poor season because it was plagued with injuries, and he's led the AL in hits twice. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. It's a new Vladimir Guerrero Jr. update. It's a very interesting time now as the Jays approach free agency with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Obviously, it's not this offseason, but it's the next one. But the sooner they get him locked up, the better. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on that, and we'll see you tomorrow.